You're a neo-Nazi.
One of the defining characteristics of the alt-right, and if we're being honest, large swaths of the right in general, was, and will always be extreme intellectual cowardice. One of the most useful tools for the alt-right is the inside joke that makes the normies fall over backwards in bumbled attempts to explain their meanings in a larger political context. The Let's Go Brandons and the Electric Boogaloos allow far-right groups to hide their unpopular opinions within seemingly innocent memes and jokes that have slowly oozed out of musty online cesspools and into polite society. Alt-right and white nationalist memes are clandestine ways for far-right groups to recognize one another, while simultaneously propagating white nationalist talking points, all while maintaining a patina of deniability. But the truth is,
the far right
spent the better part of the last century taking their most extreme beliefs and gussying them up with $10 words or teleprompter-friendly quips. Lee Atwater outlined this strategy perfectly in 1981. And be warned, the language in this clip is as upsetting as you might expect from the guy who helped Ronald Reagan craft public policy.
You start out in 1954 by saying by 1968 you can't say that hurts your backfire, so you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights and all that stuff. And you're getting so abstract now, you're talking about cutting taxes and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites.
There! Did you catch it? I hope so, because he stated it very clearly and with the aggrandized self-confidence that could only come from a white man in 1981 with this haircut.
Bing, bing, bong, bong.
Don't say racist stuff outright. Say things that are weird or confusing to throw people off the scent. But the thing about Lee Atwater, may he roast in hell, he was right. And it worked. Racists don't like being called racist, so instead of just not being racist, they decided to keep being racist, but just not talk about it. What can we do that lets people know we're racist, but still allows me, the individual, to distance myself from the racism I so obviously endorse? Flash forward to now, and every major conservative culture war talking point has a thick glaze of that plausible deniability. This allows the right to spew their unpopular opinions without having to confirm that they actually hold those opinions. You know, like a coward would do. We can't just say black people are scary and you should vote for Republicans to protect you. But we can talk about this scary black criminal named Willie Horton and how he's coming for your wives. We can't just say gay people shouldn't have rights, but we can talk about why traditional marriage is important for the family unit. We can't just say we don't like it when black athletes protest, but we can talk about it as a matter of respecting our troops and our flag. And we can't just say we don't like trans people, but we can talk about how a child's potato toy is just another attempt at brainwashing your child and turning them into a potato, or trans, or something.
He'll just be potato head.
But the thing is, most racists know that it's socially unacceptable to be racist and won't express their beliefs with a full throat, but instead latch on to any display of white nationalism that allows even a modicum of that plausible deniability. But with the rise of the Tea Party and Donald Trump came the rise of the right-wing meme to continue the GOP's proud tradition of intellectual cowardice. Enter the OK hand gesture. The gesture itself can be traced back hundreds of years and across various nations and cultures. In ancient Rome, accounts have traced the gesture back to Cicero and Quintilian, great orators and rhetoricians who are said to have developed many gestures, and possibly even this one, as a tool of more effective communication. Buddhists and Hindus for centuries recognized the gesture as a mudra, or sacred gesture, that symbolized inner peace and oneness with the world. For centuries, the gesture was prolific, if not uniform in meaning, across the world. By the 19th century, the gesture had predominantly come to mean a response in the affirmative, and its meaning had become about as ubiquitous as a wave goodbye. By 2016, the OK hand gesture had witnessed a spectacular 200-year run as being the predominant way of saying, "You got it, dude."
You got it, dude.
But after the election and inauguration of Donald Trump, the hand gesture adopted more sinister tones and was rebranded with a much more confusing etymology. The repurposing of the gesture began where almost every terrible thing of the last decade began: 4chan. The anonymous image board site that takes all of the most toxic opinions of its mostly white male users and turns it into an acute concentrate of bigotry, but in meme form. The decrepit, perpetually online bog monsters that roam the vast, cavernous, and profoundly empty halls of 4chan were searching for a way to make the libs look like reactionary dorks. By the way, that's not that hard to do. Just say, "I thought Hamilton was okay."
Oh, shit.
In February of 2017, an anonymous 4chan poster announced Operation OKKK. Get it? Accompanied by a picture of everyone's favorite mega Hollywood anti-Semite, Mel Gibson.
Hooray! Who wants to eat?
The post read in part, "We must flood Twitter and other social media websites with spam, claiming the OK hand sign is a symbol of white supremacy. Make fake accounts. Use the hashtag #PowerHand privilege in all of your tweets and whatnot related to this. Leftists have dug so deep down into their lunacy, we must force to dig more until the rest of society ain't going nowhere near that."
Bing, bing.
The intent of Operation OKKK was clear. Flood the internet with rumors that the OK hand sign is actually a gesture that indicates white power. Then, when leftists take the bait and call out someone for using it, 4chaners pounce and show the world it was a hoax the whole time, and leftists are just little soy boy cucks who can get trolled with one single hand. Now, we all know how good the right has become at comedy.
That's not how humour works.
So I'm going to go against the grain here and say, this was a dumb joke right from the beginning. At best, the tricksters might get someone like Rachel Maddow or Chris Hayes to insinuate racist intent where maybe none exists. But in most scenarios, the original joke itself just makes it easier to be a racist. Tricking anti-racists into misidentifying bigotry as a hilarious way to own the libs only makes racism easier to hide and harder to spot. But the popular narrative that 4chan created the hoax is not quite true. The Southern Poverty Law Center points out that white nationalist poster boy and lump of Pillsbury dough pushed into Nazi shape, Richard Spencer, was photographed proudly displaying the gesture as early as 2015. And Milo Yiannopoulos, notorious alt-right agitprop provocateur, currently in recovery for homosexuality, was photographed using the symbol the following year in 2016. By the way, not unusual for Milo to take tactics endorsed by explicit racists, run them through the washer with the irony filter turned to high, and begin spewing them in more socially acceptable realms. If you call Real Time with Bill Maher socially acceptable.
Exactly, but that's the person we find to be a national treasure. I'm just saying the line is kind of blurred.
On February 13th, 2017, 14 days before the Operation OKKK post was made to 4chan, Jim Hoft of the Gateway Pundit, a right-wing news site whose writers all wear bibs so they don't drool boot polish on their nice Oxfords, was photographed behind the podium of the White House briefing room flashing the hand sign, alongside another far-right provocateur, Lucian Wintrich. The 3%ers, one of America's largest anti-government militias who enjoy cosplaying as little army boys by shoving themselves into ill-fitting tactical gear and carrying their big boy guns around on camping trips, have long used the hand gesture, though they have maintained that the gesture does not actually endorse white supremacy or have any white supremacist connotation, but instead is meant only as an explicit recognition of the group itself, because 3 fingers, 3%ers, yeah. On February 21st, 2017, 6 days before the Operation OKKK post,
Stephen Miller,
Trump's bigoted senior advisor and man currently rotting from his very core, was appearing on Face the Nation when a Reuters photographer snapped an image of what looked like
Stephen Miller
flashing an OK as he waited to go live. Once the Operation OKKK post dropped on 4chan, the picture circulated again and leftists took the L for insinuating sinister intentions. Even Snopes reported it as a false claim that Miller was consciously committing an overt act of white supremacy. And maybe they're right. Maybe Stephen Miller wasn't flashing the sign. And that is the very point of Operation OKKK in the first place. And besides, does doing white supremacy even sound like something Stephen Miller would do? Though the origins of the OK hand gesture as a far-right meme might always remain murky, one thing has come into clear focus. Racists, bigots, and hate-mongers seem to be using the symbol a lot. Even before Operation OKKK, the hand gesture seemed to have bounced its way through the hallowed halls of the far-right intelligentsia, which I imagine looks like that hallway from Willy Wonka, broad and gauche at the beginning, but it quickly narrows into an uncomfortable space from which you must squeeze yourself out of to escape. But Operation OKKK gave the racists just what they needed. It's a joke! Look how triggered! Does my hand offend you, you cultural Marxist? And that's when the really vocal racists made their move. The hand sign instantly circulated among far-right groups. Pictures of Proud Boys flashing the sign proliferated the internet. America's worst person, Roger Stone, was seen flashing the symbol. Theocratic fascists at Patriot Prayer were even seen flashing the sign. Even a White House aide was accused of throwing up the OK gesture at Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation. Stupid, petulant children. But it worked. The media reported on it and the far right were able to laugh and say, fake news, reporting on a 4chan hoax.
Bing, bing, bong, bong.
As ContraPoints pointed out in her video on the subject, when leftists try to point those symbols out, the fascists can always say, these gullible SJWs now think that even the OK sign is racist. Is there anything they don't think is racist? And the right scored a point and the reporting died down. But the use of the gesture did not. And with time, the ironic origins of Operation OKKK faded, and what was left was a gesture widely recognized by white supremacists. On March 15th, 2019, a man began streaming video to Facebook Live as he parked his car on a side road in a mostly peaceful neighborhood in Christchurch, New Zealand. He made references to internet culture and memes as he unloaded a semi-automatic shotgun and AR-15 style rifle from the back of his vehicle. With the camera running, the man walked around the corner of the block and onto the premises of the Al-Noor Mosque. A Muslim man exited the mosque and said, "Hello, brother," as the gunman approached. The gunman shot him, walked inside the mosque and shot and killed 43 others. He then returned to his car, drove 3 miles, and shot and killed 7 other people at the Linwood Islamic Center. The shooter was Brenton Harrison Tarrant, a far-right maniac who idolized other race-based terrorists like Anders Breivik and Dylan Roof. Tarrant was a permanently online extremist, gorging on far-right conspiracy theories like the Great Replacement. In both his manifesto and livestream, he referenced right-wing reactionaries like Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro, anti-Semite baiters like Felix Kjellberg, and even Donald Trump himself. Though Tarrant lived a world away, he had spent a significant amount of time marinating in the toxic stew of American alt-right subcultures. When Tarrant appeared in court, just days after the shootings, he flashed the OK hand gesture. This is not meant to imply that Tarrant was motivated by the OK gesture or that anyone who uses the gesture, ironic or otherwise, is a terrorist. I only point this out because what Brenton Harrison Tarrant saw in the gesture was not an ironic meme to own the libs. Brenton Tarrant Harrison saw a way to communicate to like-minded bigots. And regardless of where the OK gesture came from, this is where it is now. We may never be able to pinpoint the first time a racist flashed the OK gesture in an explicit attempt to identify themselves as such. But we can confidently say the gesture itself no longer has the benefit of plausible deniability. Nearly 5 years after the Operation OKKK post, most layers of the irony and triggering the libs have fallen from the gesture, and what remains is what was there all along. A gesture whose sole purpose is to say, I am one of you. I hate with that same fire. Hey, it's me, guy from the video you just watched. I am a brand new creator, so if you could like and subscribe and share the video and, you know, all those things that one must do to appease the SEO gods, I would greatly appreciate that. And also, we talked about a lot of nasty stuff today. Nazis, racists, bigots, Jim Hoft, you name it. And who am I to be speaking on this? I'm a nobody. I'm a guy with a day job who made a video on the internet. To get a lot of this information, I read and watched the work of a lot of people who are a lot smarter than me. So please check out all of the smart, Nazi-hating people in the description below.
Bing, bing, bong, bong. That's not how humour works.